The following is an exclusive presentation of Turner Sports.
The Packers' Reggie White is on his way to the Hall of Fame. Like the Colts' Gino Marchetti, he makes offensive linemen shudder. And following the lead of Deacon Jones, he's helped to define the quarterback sack. He displays the intensity and desire of Hall of Fame linebackers Nitschke and Butkus. He exhibits the punishing, dominating force of Mean Joe Green and Randy White. Yes, Reggie White is a future Hall of Famer. And tonight, he's the problem for the Jacksonville Jaguars. A cold front moved through. The fog has rolled in over the St. John River in Jacksonville Municipal Stadium. But every seat is sold out for the season, this expansion season, for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Some better looking than others have gathered here. 73,000 in all. Second home game regular season for this first-year franchise. And tonight they take on the Green Bay Packers. Good evening, everybody. Vern Lundquist along with Pat Hayden. Jacksonville 0-3. They have lost consecutively to Houston, Cincinnati, and the Jets. Not exactly superpowers in the league this year. Tonight it gets a little more serious. They've got Green Bay, and that means Reggie White.
Yeah, I think when you start with Green Bay, you always start with Reggie White. And it's hard to believe now he's in his 13th year of professional football, but still one of the most dominating players in the game. And he's off to a very good start again this year. Played well, particularly late in the ball games the last 2 weeks. Now, he's playing against a rookie tonight, Brian DeMarco. Although the Packers will move him around a lot tonight, they want the matchup against White against the rookie. But I think Mike Holmgren wants some better play out of the rest of the defensive linemen. They didn't play particularly well last week against the Giants.
On the other side of the ball, Pat, they, of course, have lost Sterling Sharp, retired with a medical injury. They do have, though, in Brett Favre, one of the outstanding young quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, I think he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL today, and I don't think you have to worry about your quarterback position anymore for the Green Bay Packers. But he's been hot and cold the last 2 games. Look, the touchdowns, the interceptions. He's thrown 5 touchdowns in the first half. He has not thrown one in the second half. And Mike Holmgren said, hey, we want a complete game out of Brett tonight.
Tom Coughlin has taken over as the head coach of this expansion franchise. He turned down a chance to coach the Giants 4 or 5 years ago, elected to stay at Boston College, yet he kind of jumped at this opportunity.
Well, he has a plan, and he has a great opportunity here because he has full control. I mean, that means not only on Sundays, but this guy has control of all the drafts and all the player personnel decisions, and I think any head coach wants that today to be successful. His plan is really a 3-year one. That's bad news for the fans of Jacksonville this year because he's going to have to suffer through some young players' mistakes. He has 14 first-year players, and they are going to make some mistakes. It could be ugly this year for Jacksonville.
Well, one of those first-year players is going to get his second start of the season tonight. That's the quarterback and the former Green Bay Packer, Mark Brunell.
You know, every coach that's had Mark Brunell thinks he's going to be a good player. Mike Holmgren last year thought he was going to be a good player. Tom Coughlin this year thinks he's going to be a good player. Even Ray Rhodes, who coaches at Philadelphia and wanted Brunell, thinks he's going to be a good player. But he has to avoid the sacks. He had 6 sacks a week ago, and he has to get rid of the ball quicker.
Well, there's good news in that respect. Tony Boselli was the second pick in the entire draft. Went down with an injury in July. Tonight at left tackle, he gets his first snap in an aggressive posture.
Well, he got hurt July 17th, and he has not played yet. You know, just like Reggie White's a force on defense, people believe that Tony Boselli can be a great left tackle. Now, if you believe his head coach at USC, John Robinson, he's the best offensive tackle he's ever seen, and that includes Anthony Munoz. He's the kind of guy that they hope can solidify that offensive line and play left tackle for a decade.
Mike Holmgren now in his 4th year as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. 9-7, 9-7, 9-7. He'd like to get off that mark and improve to a 10-6, maybe an 11-5 this year.
Sports.
Oh, the studio lights are still burning in Atlanta at our TNT studios. We got a coffee table, a ficus tree, a couple of rich Corinthian leather chairs. I think it can only be one thing: the Steel Postgame Report. How you doing? I'm Vince Cellini, and we wrap up your Sunday now. I'm joined in studio by my partner, Mark May. And Mark, today was a day of officially bizarre happenings in the NFL as we said goodbye to September.
Two games had bizarre happenings today. The Washington Redskins feel for the second week in a row poor officiating cost them another football game. And at the Pittsburgh-Minnesota game, Bill Cowher just goes berserk on the officials, saying that they can't count.
Speaking of the Pittsburgh and Minnesota game, we have with us from Minnesota a fellow who saw that firsthand, a 20-point win by the Minnesota Vikings. Our analyst Warren Moon joins us up there from Minneapolis. And Warren, what was that Bill Cowher Kodak moment like with Gordon McCarter up there? You saw it firsthand.
Yeah, it was really bizarre. Ford Rivez had just missed about a 47-yard field goal on the last play of the half. And we were all getting ready to jog off the field to the locker room, and all of a sudden the official dropped the flag, and I guess counted late that they had 12 guys on the field. So Cowher kind of argued his point, and he argued it long enough until they had an overhead shot done from a camera up in the press box to show that he only had 11 guys on the field, I guess. But the official wouldn't go for it, so Cowher got a little bit upset and just balled up the photograph and tried to shove it down his shirt. And I was a little surprised he didn't get ejected out of the game at that point for touching the official, but I'm sure he'll probably get reprimanded by the league this week.
Yeah, you can look at the pictures, but don't touch the official. That is the rule, certainly. All right, let's start with a game that was pretty as a picture. If you're a Cleveland Browns fan, the Kansas City Chiefs at 3-0, looking for their first ever 4-0 start, heading to Cleveland Stadium to face the Cleveland Browns. Marty Schottenheimer's old stomping grounds there, and the Browns coaching staff hard at work. Vinny Testaverde in the first quarter, handing off to Ernest Biner. Used to help Marty Schottenheimer, a former 10th-round pick for the Browns. 7-0 Cleveland. Browns' first rushing touchdown of the year. In the third quarter, 7-3 Cleveland. Testaverde connecting with, no, that can't be Andre Rison. Yes, his first of the season. Dre paying dividends. The $17 million man, congrats on the sidelines. 14-3 Browns at that point. And the Browns' defense was unkind to Steve Bono all afternoon. Here's Steve Bono looking for Keith Cash, who is swarmed by Carl Banks. And Banks, the old-timer, still showing some moves. Now in the fourth quarter, Testaverde to Ernest Biner, who hops into the end zone for the touchdown. His second of the day, 21-3 Cleveland. Biner at age 33, playing like a kid. In the fourth quarter, the Chiefs trying to come back. Bono's had some of those, but not this time. Gerald Dixon in front of that pass. He takes it all the way back for a touchdown. The Browns are up 28-10, and the place is just rocking. Chiefs' next possession looks like an instant replay. Mike Caldwell this time pilfering it, and he high steps in for the touchdown. 2 interception returns for touchdowns for the Browns in a 19-second span, and that snapped it up for the Browns. 35-17 the final. The Cleveland defense has allowed 11 touchdowns in their last 11 home games. The fantasy football facts from this ball game. Look at Biner. He was doing it on the ground and through the air. Rison, as we showed you, the first touchdown for him. Even Ken Cash, 8 catches, 111 yards, and the touchdown. All right, we want to head right out to Jacksonville again. Ernie Johnson is standing by with the Minister of Defense, Reggie White, to talk about tonight's win over the Jags. Ernie?
Yeah, Reggie White and Brett Favre both here, and we're surrounded by, I guess there are a few cheeseheads who have made their way down here to Jacksonville to root the Packers on to a 24-14 win tonight. And Brett Favre, let's start with you. And it was a record-setting night or a record-tying night. I know that when we talked yesterday, you were kind of downplaying this 12 consecutive games with at least 2 touchdown passes, but you got it tonight. And how does it feel?
Well, as I told you yesterday, it's a great record for me and for my offense and the receivers to make the plays, and that means that we're putting points on the board and we're getting in the end zone, and that's the most important thing.
Take me through this, because you were on the run the other way, throwing kind of across your body, and
well, it was a play designed for 2 deep coverage. We didn't get it, and I saw Anthony who made a great play, who came across and never gave up, and you know, you got to tip your hat to a guy like that not to give up.
Packers win this one 24-14, and Reggie White, you know, there were times in the first half, I don't know if you guys were thinking that, boy, we better take advantage of some of these opportunities. It's only a 10-0 game. We make some mistakes defensively. These guys are right back in it.
Yeah, we really buckled down, and we made some big plays when we got some sacks and things of that nature. The second half, they started sliding to me, and we had some guys that make some plays. So it's situation, we're pretty pleased with the way we play, but, you know, we got to keep it up.
Here you are getting to your old teammate, Mark Brunell. Now, you said that you were going to mention something to him.
I didn't get to mention it to him. I hope he heard it.
But you had something on your mind.
He popped me in the behind with that wet towel, so I was trying to get him, but he knows.
Some things stick with you. Also tonight, a very young offensive front now for this expansion team. We saw Baselli in there. You weren't head-to-head against him very much, but what is your impression of him and DeMarco on the other side?
I can't give an impression of Baselli until I see him on film. Well, an impression of Baselli until I see him on film. DeMarco, you know, one thing that he was doing was trying to sit on the club, and I was able to get around the corner. But in the second half, they started sliding the center out and sliding the guard out, and I was beating them around the corner a lot. But you know, they're young, and they're going to have to get used to what's going on in the league.
And there was no way you were going to be the first victim.
No, not at all. You know, it don't look good not making plays against a rookie.
No, so they are still winless. You guys, after 4 weeks on top of this division, 3-1 in the NFC Central. And have we seen the Packers at their best yet, Brett?
I don't believe so. As I told you yesterday, we have the potential to do what we've done in a couple of first halves and in the past couple of games. We can do that in all 4 quarters, and we haven't done that yet. And we've gotten in a position where we've struggled a little bit in the second half and sometimes in different quarters, but we have the potential. We really do, and I think once the guys realize that and we just continue to press, we'll be okay.
Off week, and then it's Dallas. And Reggie, that's a little bit of a sterner test, I believe, for the defensive unit of the Pack.
It's definitely going to be a sterner test. And the thing we're going to have to do, you know, it's going to have to be a lot of work, and a lot of concentration, and a lot of intensity. One thing I know about, you see about Dallas, they're a 4-quarter team, and that's what we're going to have to do in order to beat these guys. We're going to have to play 4 quarters with these guys and take their game away from them, because they got guys on their offense in particular, at least 3 or 4 of them that can make big plays, and we've got to find ways to shut them down.
The Packers with a week to rest up before they take on the Dallas Cowboys, who remained unbeaten today. That's the story from Jacksonville. The Packers winners 24-14. Brett, Reggie, thanks a lot for being here. Let's go back to Vince and Mayday, guys.
Thank you, EJ. We're going to go back to the Browns and their quarterback, Vinny Testaverde, and certainly over the years he's had his share of critics. But coming into today's ball game with the Chiefs, the number 2 rated passer in the NFL. 8 touchdown passes, only 1 interception this season for Vinny Testaverde. And with this level of confidence, he may be playing his best football yet. Craig Sager was in Cleveland with more.
For the once maligned Vinny Testaverde, the defining moment of this game and perhaps the young season came on 3rd and goal from the 4 in the 3rd quarter of a 7-3 game. The opportunistic Kansas City defense had prepared for this situation all week. They would pressure Testaverde with a blitz, creating a sack or fumble, or forcing an errant pass or interception. But Testaverde in complete control read the defense, saw the man-to-man coverage on Andre Rison, and delivered a perfect pass that sent the Browns on their way to a 35-17 rout.
Well, you know, Andre coming into a new system had some early trouble going against New England, and we got finally going. So, you know, we're able to get that touchdown later in the game, and it helped us out big, put us on top. And, you know, I see great things for Andre in the near future.
You know, my biggest thing during my free agency marketing was I wanted to go somewhere where I felt they had an opportunity to play in the Super Bowl. And I'm just happy just to be here, and we're winning right now. And, you know, it's totally different, you know, when you're winning. So that takes the place of the individual stats. I think I got enough stats on the back of my bubblegum card.
By the nature of the position, praise and criticism are often magnified out of proportion while evaluating quarterbacks. But make no mistake about it, this is a new Vinny Testaverde. Previously known for throwing more interceptions than touchdowns, he is now the AFC's top-rated passer, and he is bringing an air of confidence to the huddle that was previously missing.
I think, you know, he had a lot of pressure on him coming into this season, and he just took that challenge. And every week he's been more of a leader, and he's playing a lot better, and he's making a great decision on the field. And I told you, I said before, he's a hell of a quarterback, and he's starting to show that.
He's controlling the football very well. I think that their new philosophy is, as far as offense, he's picking guys, he's mixing it up with the run and, you know, going some play action off of it, and he's really hitting the receivers that he's supposed to hit. And he had some great reads out there today. He was sharp, and I think that, you know, he have a great start, and they have a great ball club, and you can't take nothing away from him.
The pressure of winning or losing is not resting solely on the shoulders of Vinny Testaverde. But so far this year, he has shown the physical skill and mental ability of a championship quarterback.
All right, thank you, Craig Sager. Let's bring Warren Moon back into this now. And Warren, as a quarterback, can you appreciate what Vinny Testaverde has done? This guy's basically saved his career. He's been compared to a modern-day Jim Plunkett. What do you think?
Well, you know, I said at the beginning of the year, in order for Cleveland to do what they needed to do this year as far as getting over Pittsburgh and winning the division and moving on further in the playoffs, Vinny had to have a great year, because I felt like on the offensive line and defensive line, they could dominate football games, but Vinny had to be the constant. And so far, he's been very consistent this year. He's been very productive. And you also have a happy Andre Rison. So those two guys right there, if they can keep them happy and productive, they're going to have a great season.
No question about that. Mark May, let me ask you about the Kansas City Chiefs now. Hey, narrow escapes against the Giants and an overtime win against the Raiders. What's your take on this Chiefs team?
I think the Kansas City Chiefs bubble may have finally burst this week. After leading the team to 2 come-from-behind double-digit fourth-quarter deficits, Steve Bono throws 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter this week. After last week's game, an overtime win over the Oakland Raiders, Coach Marty Schottenheimer pronounced, "The football gods are looking down upon me." Well, they weren't smiling upon him today.